Yo, what's up, dogs? I'm back. I know it's been a while since I've done a movie review, but here I am. The summer is almost over. My landscaping life is kind of calming down a little bit, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you guys. I bit off a little too much more than I can chew when it comes to running a landscaping company and working another job and, trying to balance everything. And I just couldn't. I didn't have the time to mentally sit down and think about movies after like working. Sometimes, guys, I'm working like 12-hour day. I'm working like 8 a.m. in the morning till 12, and then I'm going to go to my other job. You know what I'm saying? So it was a lot. I did too much. I learned a lot from it. I'm hoping next year to start hiring some people and like do, manage a little bit better and have more time to do the things that I like to do, which is one of my favorite hobbies, watching movies and talking about them with you. But I am back, as I said, and we are here to discuss Beetlejuice 2, which is obviously you knew because I got the movie behind me. And I like, okay, get ready for spoilers, get ready for the spoilers. Going into this movie, Beetlejuice, I had no cares. I didn't care about this film at all. I didn't even need a sequel. Never wanted a sequel. I was quite content with the classic 1988 version. And when they announced that they were making a sequel to this movie, I was just kind of like, yeah, okay. I don't care. Like, I didn't even care to go see it. I kind of was just sitting there on the fence with it. And, I had the day off and I thought, all right, let's go. I went last night. Well, Saturday I did a 2 p.m. show, and I went and saw it in just good old fashioned regular viewing screen. No IMAX, nothing special. Got myself a concession, and when I got to the theater, honestly, I was quite surprised. There was like 50 people in the theater. Like it was actually packed, and there was more people coming in. So I think we actually had about like a good like 70 people person turnout. You know what I'm saying? And I was genuinely surprised that there was this kind of interest in Beetlejuice. Like I know Beetlejuice, the character himself, is a popular character, and I know that, but I wasn't expecting people actually caring for a sequel. I don't know. It's just like to me, it's like 30 years too late. But here we are. I went and saw it, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Get ready for lots of spoilers. There is one big thing in this movie that I absolutely hate, and it kind of ruins the movie for me. And when I get to that section on the notes, and I went back to handwritten notes, you can see if you agree with me or not, okay? But there's a thing in this movie that happens throughout this film that really took me out of the film. And aside from that note of dislike, I kind of like I kind of like the film at times. Like, it's just kind of like this ain't that bad at times. So let's get into it. This movie is directed by Tim Burton. He makes his triumphant return to one of his most beloved franchises. And I have to say, things that I liked. I like Tim Burton's style. I've always liked his style. I grew up with it. Like, this movie came out in 1988. I was 9. I don't think I watched the movie right away in 88. You know what I'm saying? Because I was 9. I remember watching it on VHS for sure, and I'm almost certain I watched it with my best friend Chris when we were like kids. Like I know I saw this movie when I was probably 9 or 10. I want to say 10, and I probably saw it with my parents. And I know the movie probably freaked me out a little bit because it was a scary film back then, dealing with ghosts and poltergeists and Beetlejuice and all that jazz. Anyways, I felt like it was a sort of a return to form, visualistically and stylistically, but story wise and character development and stuff like that, I don't really feel like it was like something one of Tim Burton's stronger aspects to the film. But I digress. Let's get into this. We have the story, and it's a very simple story with a lot of other stories going on in here. But let me keep it to the bare bones for you, okay? The story is simple. We have Lydia Dietz, played by Winona Ryder, and she is a paranormal expert, and she sees ghosts, and she runs her own little TV show called like Ghost House, I believe it is, and she sees apparitions of ghosts, and that's kind of how she built her career. And we find out that she was married to a person named Richard, who's played by Santiago Cabrera, and she had a child with him. who's played by Jenna Ortega, named Astrid Dietz. And they have the father's dead, passed away a while ago, and there's a dynamic between the mother and daughter where we just have a lot of teen angst and I hate you mom and all the stuff I don't really care about when it comes to family structures and story ideas. It's just like, ugh, I'm tired of it, you know. We could put that into the mixed bag of things, but you know, that's the dynamic they have. And like Lydia and her mom, Delia Dietz, who's played by Catherine O'Hare, their relationship is a little bit more mother daughter, but as adults, not like the old school, like, you know, 1988 gothic vibes of like, it was a different vibe too. Like she was a not an angsty teenager, but she also just really hated her stepmom, and I kind of get that vibe when you come from that kind of a life, right? You're like, my whole life has been turned upside down, so I kind of understand that angst. But like when your mom is trying to be a mom and be supportive and like make sure you're good, even though after your family, the patriarch in the family died and stuff, and you still have this grudge against her, which we find out what the grudge kind of is, which is a little thing of Lydia can't see Richard in the afterlife. Like he's dead, but she can't see him, and that is a sticking point with Astrid, where she's like, how can you not see father, you know what I'm saying? And she hates Lydia for that, because she thinks Lydia's lying because she can't see her dad, but she can see all the other ghosts, you know what I'm saying? And so Astrid's kind of like, well, if you can't do this, like you're a fraud, you're a hoax, and you know, all this jazz. And it causes this tension between the two of them, and you kind of get it, where you're like, I understand her, I understand that point of contention with the angstness, but at the same time, it's still your mom, you know? Like, come on. Maybe I'm just a mama's boy, I don't know. So that's a little chunk of the story. I kind of went off. We're derailing already. So then we find out about the patriarch of the Dietz family, Charles, actually passes away. And we find out that with his passing, sorry, it's not that we find out, but we do find out, and it causes the Dietz family, to return back to Winter River and back to the family home that, you know, that's from the first one. And so they have to have the funeral, and this is kind of like reawakens Beetlejuice, so to speak. And she sees Beetlejuice every now and then as kind of like an apparition. Like she'll see someone that's dressed like Beetlejuice, and it makes her think of like PTSD in a sense of Beetlejuice. And it's not too clear if she's had this her whole entire life, or if it's just something recently that's been happening. Like Beetlejuice is like something that pops up every now and then now because of what happens with the father. Like Beetlejuice knows he's dead and stuff. So I was just thinking about that. But maybe she's had PTSD this whole time, and anytime she sees someone that's moderately dressed like him, she freaks out a little bit. And she takes medication because she doesn't want to see ghosts anymore. And they don't really dive into that. Like, they don't dive into it that much, you know? And so chaos ensues. And by chaos ensues, we have a lot of, like I've already said before, there's a lot of story elements that are going on in this movie. And you're jumping from sequence to sequence, going, well, what sequence is happening next? And that is kind of how this movie is broken down to, where you get like a little bit of Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice, who is amazing in this film. Every scene he is in is great. You get some scenes with Lydia and her manager, who's played by Justin Theroux, who plays Rory, is the manager of Lydia, and like he's very dimwit. He brings a lot of the humor to the movie as well, and you have like their relation dynamic going on, and the relation dynamic of him becoming potentially a stepfather to Astrid, and there's that three-way dynamic going on. There's also like a four-way or another three-way dynamic between Delia and Rory and Lydia, right? And it's just like this whole very different dynamics going on, because no one really likes Rory, and everyone else is kind of looking at Lydia like, why are you into Rory? You know what I'm saying? Like, and even I'm sitting there going, why are you into Rory? And there's times in this movie where you're sitting there, you're like, what is with you, Lydia? Like, because even her mom, Delia, says, Where's that angsty little goth girl that gave me all the trouble when you were a child? Like where is that person? Where's that spark of not angst, but like curiosity and um, maybe a little angst too, but like where does that young woman, where does she go? And it's a good question because a lot of the times throughout this movie when we're following Lydia, she kind of just is, she's also kind of aloof and just kind of goes with the flow of it. Maybe she's doing it as like, I don't know, man, like maybe she's just doing that because she's just like, maybe she's just downtrodden and tired and just tired of it all, and she just doesn't care like she used to. You know what I'm saying? Just like maybe that's just the burden of seeing ghosts and dead people and all that jazz. And I don't know, but the character just seems very like done with it and washed out in a sense. And even like Astrid kind of sees it too, and the mom sees it and stuff. Like where is this? Who is this person? And also like the death of her husband, right? That could have done like a lot of psychological damage as well, just being like, what else do I have to live for? Like the love of my life is gone, right? And sure, you still have your daughter that you can love, but like there's got to be something missing in her as well that once made her a complete unit, and now she's just fluttering around. And I bring that up because like there's one scene during I guess it's the wake at the house where Rory sidetracks it and proposes like, in front of everyone, like, hey Lydia, be my wife. And like even like when Lydia responds eventually, she's like, yeah, okay. And then like it's just like everyone's kind of just like, oh really? And he, like, Rory obviously is hyped up. She's like, yeah, she said yes. She said, but we're all sitting there going like, well, did she really like, come on Lydia, why don't you just say no, man? We all know he's a dork. Like all of us know he's a dork, and he plays it off as a dork. And like I guess I should bring up the humor in this point, because there are moments in this movie where it is funny. It's not always funny. Like there are times where I'm just like, I don't find this funny, and people in the audience, they laughed at it and stuff. But I was sitting there, I'm like, nah, this joke ain't landing for me. But there's the odd chuckle that I was like, oh, that's funny. And I would like to point out that the majority of the cast is having a great time. Like I enjoyed like everyone in their sequence that they were doing, and they're doing their bits and playing these characters. Like I really liked William Dafoe's character, who's Wolf Jackson, and he plays a dead actor who's a cop. In the real world, he was a cop in like action movies, and now he's dead. And in the netherworld, he is still a cop and an actor, but he's just like so hammy. And I loved it. I loved every scene he was in. However, I would like to point out that he doesn't actually have to be in the movie at all. Like, he is a character plot point that actually takes away, and you don't need it. It's actually an uninteresting, like, it's just unimportant. You know what I'm saying? It's still funny, and there's things about it that I liked. But at the same time, if you really want to focus in and dial this story down to some really tight points to get you to a beginning, middle, and an end, then you could actually take that character out of this film and nothing would be missed. And the same thing goes for Monica Bellucci. She plays Dolores, who happens to be the ex-wife of Beetlejuice. And we even get Beetlejuice's backstory of like how he became Beetlejuice. And she has returned in a kind of accident way with Danny DeVito's character there, opening up these boxes by accident. Like he was... It just happens. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Magic, and because it's all in the netherworld, the underworld, the land of the dead, and so she comes back to life and puts herself all back together. She's cool, and she's just on a mission to find Beetlejuice, and we get these very random scenes or sequences of her just appearing, and like there's the one where she just appears at the Chinese what is it, dry cleaner. And the scene makes no sense. There's no sense at all of why she's there or whatever, right? But she shows up, kills the dude, right? And steals a bride's dress. Like, it's so stupid. Like, it was just like all of her sequences are dumb and kind of just take you out of the movie. You're kind of like, oh, she's here? And because she's killing people in the netherworld, and she can kill. She's a soul sucker, and she like if you get your soul sucked from her, you are legit dead. Like there's no coming back from that. You're done, right? And so that's like kind of a weird threat to Beetlejuice, and Beetlejuice kind of just like laughs it off in a sense. He's like, yeah, whatever, no one's going to get me, blah blah blah. But then we get to the Beetlejuice stuff. And all of his sequences are great. Like I said, like he is great. Michael Keaton's great. He is hilarity. He brings the levity at the right time. They use him correctly and like sparingly. Like he's in the movie. Like everyone's been saying he's in there for like 17 minutes, maybe 20 tops. And all the scenes he's in, he steals. And it's great. And he is Beetlejuice. Like I honestly would say, like I would watch him just be Beetlejuice again in another film. Like just do it again. Like I genuinely enjoyed every sequence he was in as Beetlejuice. And I would also just like to point out like another story piece that I liked, because there's like man, the story of Astrid, there's a cool story with her, okay? And I kind of wish they like did more with that, because Astrid can't see dead people. At least that's what we are told. But she gets in a little bit of a fight with her mom, and she storms off and steals the bike. And no, actually, she doesn't get in she just leaves. I forgot. She doesn't have a fight with her mom. She's just like, I'm out. And she drives her bike into town, and she almost gets in an accident and dies, but she swerves off and like runs through a fence and hits a tree. And it's a very Tim Burton tree. So it's not, when you see a Tim Burton tree, it's like a Sleepy Hollow tree, and you're like, this is evil. So something bad's going to go here. But we're introduced to a boy, and his name is Jeremy, who's played by Arthur Conti, and Astrid falls in love with him. Well, yeah, falls in love with him and wants to see him again, and is like, oh, maybe there's some normalcy in this town after all, And it turns out, which I thought was awesome, is when she goes on a date with him, like, Lydia drops her off, and she's like, okay, I'll pick you up at 10 o'clock. She goes back home, and that realtor lady from the first one, I think she's from the first one, was like, she mentions the house. She's like, oh, I could never sell that house. It's cursed because there was a murder there. And Lydia was kind of just like, what? A murder? What house is that? And she's, 155 blah, blah, blah lane. And she's like, what? That house is haunted. And so Lydia has to like storm back to go and try and save save Astrid. And that's when this movie actually starts to pick up and actually gets a little like tension building, because the boy is stealing her into the netherworld, and he's trying to swap her soul out with his soul so he can come back to the living. And it turns out he's also a murderer, and he killed his mom and dad. And you see all the afterlife stuff, right? Like they're all ghosts in the house, and it was so cool. It was really cool reveals, and I got into it. And then you get the tension of like, will she live and get out of there? And the mom, like Lydia, shows up and tries to save her, and she has to actually use Beetlejuice. Like, hey, I need your damn help here. So she actually summons Beetlejuice to like bring her in, and like, let's go save my daughter. And then in the afterlife, like they see Richard, and he saves Astrid as well, and Lydia and stuff. And there's like a lot of really good things going on in this like nice window of activity, and it's like so much fun. And like, I feel like there's missed some points though, because like in order for Lydia to get Beetlejuice's help, he's like, well, you gotta marry me. And she's like, okay, I'll do anything for that to happen, blah, blah, blah. And then we get the wedding scene at the end again. Like, it does retread back to Beetlejuice 1 a lot. There's a lot of elements where like, hey, that's from this movie, blah, blah, blah. And that's okay. But at the same time, it's a little lazy, because there's some really cool story beats that could have happened in this movie. Because like, we have the question of, why can't Lydia see Richard? Now, is it Beetlejuice? Would Beetlejuice be jealous of Richard? Because Richard got to marry her. Richard got to be the husband, and that was something that Beetlejuice always wanted. So maybe Beetlejuice is doing something to Richard, and we could have that little bit of a plot point, because even Richard says in it, when they finally see each other, Lydia and Astrid, he goes, he says something like, I'm sorry you can't see me. And you're kind of just like, huh? There's a lot of throwaway lines in this movie, by the way, where you're kind of like, okay, that's just it. Like, that's the resolution. And there's like, yeah, like even like Lydia's real mom's alive, and they just throw that out there. And like, what's the faces? The original Ghost family, like they just got a loophole to be able to move on to the next life. And you're like, how does all this get explained? Like, just explain it off in lines. It's like, yep, this happened. So sure, there's a lot of weird things like that. But like I said, this movie has a lot of stories going on, a lot of stuff, and at times you kind of feel like nothing's the payoffs aren't as rewarding, so to speak, where you're like you're invested, but at the same time you're kind of like it's just like bang, 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 bang. Oh, did I get a chance to digest and sit in that and like enjoy it for a minute? It's like no, we got to move on to the next thing, on to the next thing, and you're just like oh, okay, holding on to the roller coaster ride in a sense, and like. I have questions because, like, what is Beetlejuice's motivation after 30 years? Like, why? Why does he even care about Lydia anymore? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's such a time gap in between these movies, and it's not like we could just be like, oh yeah, Beetlejuice 2 just happened a year after Beetlejuice 1 because like there's families and all this other stuff. Like, so a part of me is kind of like, well, what's Beetlejuice's actual real motivation? Other than the same motivation. Like he's been sitting in the underworld for 30 odd years going, oh man, I can't wait to marry her. And like he has a creepy picture. That's what's creepy. There's some creepy things in we are going to get to my dislike. But like he has a picture of young Lydia, like when she was Lydia in this, on his desk. And I'm kind of like, dude, what? And even then, when you think about it back in the day when we watched this movie for the first time, you're like, man, this 600-year-old poltergeist has a crush on a 13-year-old. Weird, right? But I guess we didn't think about it back then. I was only 9. I'm an adult now. We think differently now. So I think I've gone over everything pretty much. Like the end sequence of the movie is the wedding. They play another song. Like they do the song thing again. Beetlejuice is thwarted, and it's all right. You know, it's like okay, this is the end. There's like some weird like Beetlejuice baby thing that's crazy. The dream thing at the end was kind of wild. I thought that was cool. Like it was cool because like I like dream sequences that are like, you know, they're going to mess with your mind, and I just kind of liked how they kind of ended it where it was like dream 1, dream 2, and then dream over, and then that's the end of the movie. And it's not like the whole movie's a dream. It's just a sequence of like they go to Transylvania, Dracula's castle. Astrid meets her husband. They have a baby, and it's Beetlejuice's baby, and it's freaky. And Beetlejuice baby comes into this movie twice, and he's creepy. But yeah, so let's get to the number one dislike of this film. It's a touchy subject, and you guys might think I'm wrong. You guys might think, "Oh, Brett, you're overblowing this or whatever." But I think that this movie really, really, really brought up Charles Dietz, aka and the actor Jeffrey Jones, way too often in this film, where it actually took me out of my enjoyment of the movie. Because I'll be honest with you, I liked the movie, but I hated every single sequence that showed this dude in there, because he is a convicted. I don't think we're allowed to. He likes the children, is how I could say it, and he is a registered child offender in California. And this happened, I can't remember what year it was. It was back in the day, right? Some of y'all probably not even born when this happened. You know what I'm saying? And there were times when I'm watching this movie and they just hit you in the face with it. Like Charles, they have a big picture of him as an obituary in the newspaper, and we're hanging on the scene of it, you know? And we also have the claymation sequence, which looked cool, but we have a claymation version of Mr. Jones, or John, sorry. And it's creepy, it's weird to see, and you're kind of just like, does no one else in this theater know who this dude is and what he's done to children? And it's not an alleged, you know, sure, he didn't get convicted of it, but he was told to pay. I mean, the whole thing about him is freaking whack, and you should look into it. But he is registered. I just want you to know that. And the fact that Tim Burton consciously decided to make the story revolve around the patriarchy. You give me a claymation version of him, you give me photos of him, and you hang on it on the shot multiple times, by the way. He's in the newspaper obituary. He's on a glass tombstone of him. His face is right there. The actor's face is there. You know what I'm saying? They go into that tombstone twice because, what's her face? The mom, Delia. She has a seance at the thing, and you see the crystal in the face again. There is a painting at the wake where you see the painting of him, and it's a pan-on shot. It starts with the shot of him there looking at you with this smug face. And I'm like, I can't take this because I know what you did. You know what I'm saying? And then they even end shot with it. It is like, oh, sorry, the end shot is him in the corner. And the one shot was smart. The one shot was smart. I have to say that because the end shot had, it was the painting, but it was pictured behind the stairwell dowlings. So it looked like he was in prison. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, that's a smart imagery there, Mr. Burton. However, I hate that you put him in this movie so much. And he's also a ghost in the movie. Because he got killed. He doesn't die in the plane crash, but a shark like bites his head off. So we have a torso with no head, which fine, I like it. It's a smart idea. I just wish it wasn't this character. And you hear him like try to talk, and it's just disgusting. The practical effect is great, but it's just disgusting to have this character walk around and even be referenced when Delia dies and she references Charles and stuff. There's just certain things in this movie where they keep bringing this silly, like, it just annoyed me so much, and it took me out of the film. It really did. And like, yeah, like I haven't watched Beetlejuice 1 in a long time, probably maybe a year. Well, I wouldn't say a long. It's been a while, and I remember like when I rewatched it, I was just like, man, this dude, I can't, you know. So I don't even really watch this movie anymore. Yeah, I haven't actually watched any of the movies he's in a long time, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which I love, Howard the Duck, which I also really enjoy, Sleepy Hollow is another one that I really enjoy, and Beetlejuice is another one. And it's just like, I don't really want to watch them because I know what that guy did, and sometimes it's hard for me to shut my brain off and go, yeah, okay, that's a pass, you know? And in this instance, I was really curious what they were going to do about the character and the actor, and that's what they chose to do. And I think that was the bad decision. I honestly do. I don't care. I just think it was a bad decision to even include him and the character at all, period. There should be no line, like this movie, like there should be no light shined upon this person in any regards. And like, you're building him out as a positive character in this film, and you are telling jokes around this character, and you're kind of making it a mockery. Like, I get it. Sometimes you're like, you could see it as, oh, they're mocking him, like they're making fun of him, they're trying to distance themselves from him. But at the same time, not everyone's going to know that. You know, there's people out here that weren't even born. Like I said, that these allegations and conviction happened. You know what I'm saying? So it's just difficult to digest. Because like I said, like I could probably sit back and watch this movie and go, hey, this was made in 1988. You know, I could kind of disassociate a little bit, but at the same time, it's always in the back of my mind that I know what that dude did in the end, and it ruins it, and it ruined it for this movie. And that's kind of where I'm like, you know what? This movie probably would have been great if they just said nothing at all. Even if they wanted to mention it once and say, Charles died. We don't have to have a funeral. We don't have to have anything else. Yeah. Like, we could have had the funeral for Richard and made that the thing that brings the family back, you know, and tie it all around Richard. There's a lot of things we could have done differently. And I feel like whoever worked on this project, like, gave it the green light and didn't even say, hey, I don't think we should mention this guy. And it's not like I don't think we should shine light on this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm in the wrong. But you know what? I feel like I'm in the right at the same time. Because I know how I feel. And that's all that matters sometimes. And you know what? I wish they didn't do it. So, anyways. That's the end of my review. Okay. Now, would I ever buy it? I don't think I will. Don't unless it shows up in a marketplace in a bundle or something. Probably won't buy it. Do I ever want to watch this movie again? Nah, not really. It's not for like as much as I enjoyed it. Like I'll be honest. Like I said, I liked it. I like things about this movie, but nah, I don't want to. I don't really want to care about the Charles dude and all that jazz. Like I just don't care. Should you watch it? Sure, stream it. Honestly, just stream it. Don't watch it. It's a tough one, guys. It's a tough one. Anyways, yeah, don't just stream it. If you have to watch it, stream it. Yeah, because like don't. It sucks. It sucks. But maybe there's a whole thing, remove the artist from the art, and I got to do that kind of gymnastics or something. I don't know. Whatever, man. Do what you guys need to do in order to watch this film. Research what I've talked about in this movie so you know. Hey, leave a comment below. I'm out of here. I do not know what movie I'm watching next because there's nothing out there that's really like drawing my attention to it. Like I gotta see it. So we'll see what I see next. And on that note, I'm out of here. Whatever movies you are watching, I hope you're loving them and digging them. I am back for the foreseeable future until my work schedule gets crazy. Thank you for being patient with me. Peace out, everyone. And just, you know what? Have a good day. Bye.